Alright, so welcome officially everyone to the third session on the Canvas pilot. Today's session is on assignments and discussion board. I kind of categorize those together because Canvas does as well. So assignments in Canvas operation is everything that has a graded value. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. Alright, so a quick recap is so far we, or I at least, I'm not sure if everyone is doing the exact same process, but I have downloaded Blackboard course files, and I can't say that I've done that for every single week. I've done that for at least week 1, and now I'm beginning to do it for week 2, so I'm only always just a few steps behind maybe where you're at, or at least where my students expect me to be on day 1 of the quarter. I've then uploaded week 1's content to Google Docs, and then from Google Docs I've shared that via a link to Canvas. This pop-up comes up every time, and I hate it. Alright, I will keep it and ignore forever. Alright, with that we will keep going. So this is obviously an introduction to assignments in Canvas. I have to confess that there was a tiny bit of a learning curve. Not so much with the technology, but with my brain. I had to unlearn or rethink how this should work because I had all that previous history of using assignments or course material within Blackboard. So I had a learning curve because I had to unlearn my previous method of doing it. So I also should say that within Blackboard I always put the assignments not on the assignment link, but I put them under course material. So all of my assignments for week 1 were in the week 1 folder, or week 2 assignment was in the week 2 folder. So the equivalent of course material within Blackboard to Canvas is Pages for me. So I'm using Pages as the alternative to course material. But if you're someone who always uses assignments within Blackboard, then immediately you'll probably use assignments within Canvas. That should translate, obviously. So in my case, I had to do a little bit of finessing to make that work the way that my brain worked. So I did find one thing, that it helped standardize the tool. So the learning management system. In Canvas, I found that there's less course menu customization. So when you go to settings and navigation, you have less options to choose what navigation is there. So that equals more standardization. I find that especially on this campus, everyone, myself included, has put in a lot of custom links on the left-hand side. We've hid stuff, we've added our own links, maybe a link to a blog or a link to some extra stuff, some cool resources that we've created for our students. Now the end result of that, however, is that students in every class have a different experience because each teacher has customized those links. So it's good for me at the teacher level, but maybe bad for the students. And I'm older and wiser now that I've done this a little bit within Blackboard, so I'm looking at it less from my perspective and more, hopefully, we all are, from the student's perspective. So Canvas equals less course menu customization, which is good for the students, maybe bad for you. I find that the user interface, or the UI, now is easier to use. That's for me, and I would also assume that that would be the case for the students. The user experience, this is obviously on the student side now, is easier to comprehend, and I'll tell you why. And for Gisela in the audience, I'm not here to sell you on Canvas. I'm just trying to give you an unbiased opinion before and after. Alright, so before and after, so Blackboard versus Canvas, this is regarding the assignments view. So within Blackboard, again I mentioned that I don't actually use the assignments link, I use course material. So we are now inside of week 1 folder, and homework number 1 you see right there. So that would be the Blackboard equivalent of the assignment. So the equivalent now within Canvas is I'm using Pages instead of course material, and under Pages, instead of putting out the full description like I did there in Blackboard, I've removed that and instead put a link to Google Docs. So in Google Docs they can find the full assignment description, and we covered that a little bit yesterday or in yesterday's recording. So when the students actually click on that link for Google Docs, this is what they would see. So they would see the full assignment description within Google Docs instead of within Blackboard, or instead of on that page within Canvas. So what this is doing for me is that this is cutting as many cords as possible so that I'm controlling all of this content. If I need to retype or edit anything, I'm doing that within Google Docs, not within the learning management system. So this makes me less tied to the LMS. So before and after regarding adding assignments, or how you would add assignments. So within Blackboard, you would add an assignment by clicking on that drop-down menu. So this is obviously within a course material area. And right now I'm clicking on Create Assessment, and I'm rolling over the assignment tool. So that's the Blackboard view. So within Canvas, it's slightly different. Again, assignments is anything that has a graded value within Canvas. So I would click first on the assignments area, and then here I have a few options. First, I would create a group, an assignment group. So a group would be something like a category within Blackboard. So that category or group would be attendance, maybe participation, group work, discussions, or homework, whatever I would happen to call it in my syllabus. Once I've added that, then I can add rules to that group. So in this case, you see I've added the group attendance, and then I've added one drop the lowest modifier to that as well. So all of this, the coolest part about all of this is that it's all from the same screen. So once I've added a group, then on the right hand side I have that little plus icon that says add assignment to, and then I just choose which group. I can also do that, if you see my mouse, by clicking on that little plus icon underneath each group as well. So that's very easy to add an assignment. One other thing, if I go back for 1 second, one other thing that I found very easy to do was add a due date. This is something that I never did before within Blackboard because I hated going in and customizing the due dates. Instead, I was lazy and I said everything's due Sunday at midnight, which is like the be-all end-all answer for the lazy person, lazy instructor, which worked perfectly for me, but maybe not so much for the students. So within Canvas, I'm trying to be a better person, and I'm actually adding due dates, and I find that it is so easy to do that it's not that much of a pain like I used to think it was. So as far as editing assignments goes, within Blackboard, I would click Edit the assignment, and this is what I would see. So the real difference here is that all of my content used to be within Blackboard, and I would spend maybe hours total finessing the way a bullet looked or where the indentation was, and people always mess with this, and this drove them nuts if one little thing was off. Within Canvas, the real difference is not the options. Obviously you have all the same options, due dates, add attachment, and all that sort of stuff. But I have no longer put in the description within the assignment. Again, now it points to the Google Doc. So that's the major difference, is that I'm spending less time formatting, and now I'm just focusing on availability or restrictions that I put on this. So I should note that I have right now submission marked for online submission. If I were to say no submission, then I would not get all of these options underneath it. I also restrict it to only allow a PDF as an upload. So if you previously told your students to save this as an RTF or save this as a PDF or PowerPoint or whatever that was, here you can mandate it or restrict it so that they don't even have the option of uploading another file type. I love this personally because I hate receiving an assignment that says assignment. We have a question in the third row. Gisela.
As far as those restrictions, because I teach the advanced Excel.
Okay.
Now, if I will only accept Excel files, what if I put down .xlsx?
Okay, so
in other words, they couldn't submit an earlier version.
all right, so Gisela's asking if you do restrict it to .pdf or .xl or .doc, whatever. What about the other versions of .doc, like docx or Excel, the 2010 version? So you would just change that by adding a comma and then the other file type. So in this case, it would be .doc and then comma .docx or .rtf, or as many variations of the file type as you want. And we see Gisela smiling. Okay, that was not a smile. That was my mistake. Okay. Okay, so obviously, you choose the point value, the due date, all that fun stuff. You can do it according to a group, and you can also enable peer reviewing. This is very interesting for me because I have not done this in the past. This enables all students to view all submissions for this assignment so that they can comment or critique each other's work. I haven't done this before, so I'm just curious about that. Alright, so as far as discussions go, so up to this point, you should not be in love or out of love with any of these LMS options because they do pretty much the exact same thing. The only difference on my end where I am in love now, enlightened, however you want to say this, is that I'm using Google Docs for the full description instead of spending, a decent amount of time formatting the perfect, assignment view. And I find that my assignment pages are much shorter now because I'm linking them to full descriptions instead of that page being 3 pages long. So on to discussions. So discussions I'm going to do less before and after because it's pretty much the same. So a difference here is that when you come to discussions, you will see from the get-go here, see the number 1 on the right-hand side there, how many replies are waiting for you to respond to it. I also added a photograph of myself, so you see your avatar. So if this was Garfield or your dog or cat, then that's what they would see to represent you throughout the entire course. So if students do this as well, or some instructors require that the very first assignment is to tell us about yourself, maybe it might be to also add that avatar so that students see an image, there, a dog or cat, their mom, whatever image they might want to show. So once I actually click on any one of those topics, then I get inside of it. And at this point right now, I'm actually creating a topic. So if I were to hit on the right-hand side here, start a new topic, then this is what I would end up with. So this is a new topic. I would see it above the rest. I give it a title. I would suggest, this is for me, to mark this as a threaded discussion. If you don't, then all conversations are equal. And in my case, I would prefer that the topics I start, when I start that ball rolling, that all sub-conversations fall under that. Not that all students ask any question at any time. Or worst case scenario would be if I did not check this and I required students to introduce themselves. Someone would put the subject of, "Hi, my name is Steve." Another person would say, "What's up?" Another person would put no title. So I just get all these weird discussions happening, and I don't like that. So I'd rather that it be threaded under my one topic. So I also have one for questions, problems, help there as well. You can add a point value to this and then assign what group that it belongs to for the grading category. So right now it happens to fall under attendance, but I would need to change that so that it falls under discussions. Alright, so if you did enable the option for threading, then this is what you would see when people actually reply to your message. So right now Steve posted a question and then Steve replied to it. So you see that there is a gray bar on the left-hand side of the reply there. That means that it's been read. If it was a blue bar, then it had not been read yet. And you would see that number icon there as well. Alright, so the real difference is a global view of assignments. So going from Blackboard to Canvas, again, the tool is a tool is a tool. I'm not really seeing a major difference. The difference is the global perspective now that I have looking at it from the Canvas view. So before I even get into the course now, I see a stream of recent activity. So if I were a student logging into Canvas before I log in any course, I see activity happening. So if you are accustomed to any social networking tool like Facebook, Twitter, or any of these other ones out there, you are already familiar with that stream of endless data of who did what last weekend or whatever happens to be showing up, or who's voting for what. Alright, so that is a stream of recent activity. This is before they get into any course. So once they are actually inside of your course, then under recent activity, now we're seeing a stream for just this course. So this would be a stream of whatever happens in the course, including other people's interaction with the course. So if someone posts a reply, then they would see that as part of the stream there. So if I actually look at the course syllabus, so I haven't actually gone into the other areas even before we had built the other areas, so we've created assignments. What gets really interesting is that for the assignments that you create, they show up in multiple places. So previously I created a discussion, it's showing up under recent activity. Now I happen to be in the syllabus, and note that the very first thing that it says for me is view and download the course syllabus. That points them to Google Docs. Okay, so underneath that, it says July 5th, July 6th, July 8th, July 13th. These are all the due dates that I had previously assigned under assignments. So I found that it was easy to assign them, and then once I did assign those dates, this is where I really fell in love with it because it adds it everywhere. So this is what the students would see when they click on the syllabus, not only a link to the syllabus file, but a reminder of sort of an outline of the course of what's due. The next view is calendar. So this is a global calendar. Students would see their content in conjunction with your content. So if they were signed up for 5 courses, then on the left-hand side here, they would see their name and then the 5 courses that they were signed up for. So just like your Google Docs calendar, if this is too much information at once, then you can uncheck any of those calendars to just see the calendar that you want. So I like this because in Blackboard, the calendars were per each course, which meant that if I was a student taking 5 different classes, I would have to hop into 5 classes, view the calendar, and they would not relate to each other. So then I'd have to maybe print all those out and then view them at once. That's not as easy as my mind wants it to be. So in this case, just like Google Calendar, this is exactly what I would expect. And then lastly, for assignments. So this is a global view of assignments. Students would see upcoming assignments and which course they relate to, and then assignments that are further down the road. So the reason that I love all of this is that it's not just related to the area that you deployed it. This is giving them reminders in all different areas. And then lastly, obviously, the Grade Center is where they would see grades for each of those categories. One thing that I'll point out here, even though we haven't really covered the Grade Center yet, is that the naming convention for my assignments or all of my homework is as short as possible so that my columns are as short as possible. So week 1 attendance, week 2 attendance, week 3 attendance, week 4 attendance, all of that hopefully follows the same short naming convention. Gisela has a question.
That grade book, can that be downloaded into Excel?
You can do lots of things with this, Gisela. When we get into the live one, I'll show you what I mean. There's also 2 versions of the Grade Center. If you like the older version better or the beta version. So the beta version has different options. And right now, what I'm showing you is the new version. You'll see a button on the right-hand side that says "Go back to the old gradebook." So to satisfy Gisela, Canvas has created 2 different versions of the Grade Center for her to download to Excel. All right. So next is the hands-on portion. So far, we've covered the introduction, how to upload course content, share that via Google Docs, and today was assignments and discussions. So coming up will be announcements and preparing for day 1. So this is the last session happening tomorrow before there's no turning back and day 1 begins. Thank you very much, folks.